Hello. Oh, there we are. Wow. Okay. Welcome, everyone, to this evening's Planning Commission hearing. Tonight, we'll call to order and let the record reflect that all 5 commissioners are present. And with that, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Okay, next item on our agenda tonight is oral communications. This is an opportunity for the public to address the commission on matters that are not on the agenda tonight. Any speakers?
No speakers.
No speakers. Okay. Having no speakers, we will move on to changes to the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
I'd like to pull item 8B. 6.
6? What is it, 6C?
6C.
Yes. No. 6D.
6D.
Sorry, I misheard you.
6D,
Okay.
thank you.
So we'll pull item 6D from the consent calendar. And with that, I'll take a motion on the remaining consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, can we call the vote? Okay, the consent calendar without 6D passes. Point of order, if we pull the item, we hear that first? Okay, so with that, we will move to item 6D. Brent, do you want to explain why you pulled it first?
I'd like to register our vote.
Okay,
I don't need a staff report, and I would imagine deliberations are not necessary unless we have any other commissioners who feel the need to.
sure. So just to inform, this item was a request for a variance on Neptune Avenue, the Newman residence. The variance was rejected by the majority of the commission, but not all of the commission last time. The resolution has been rewritten by staff, and that's what was printed in the consent calendar. So I'd like to call the vote. If we could have someone make a motion to approve the resolution as written.
You first should ask if there's any public speakers.
Is there anyone here to address this matter?
No.
Not seeing anybody?
I'll make a motion to approve the new
Okay.
resolution, which is denying the variance.
Right.
I'll make a motion to second that,
Okay.
or I'll second that.
All right. I'll call the vote, please. Okay, that resolution passes 3-2. The resolution to deny the variance passes. Okay, our first regular agenda item tonight is item 8A, case number policy 007-027-2024. The applicant is the City of Encinitas, and this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance to amend section 30.04.010, the definitions, to include manufactured homes as part of the definition of dwelling unit. I think this is a fairly straightforward item. Do we need to hear a staff report, or would we like to go straight to discussion?
I think it probably could have been on consent calendar.
I had the same feeling.
I just had a question of staff if they're here.
Okay, the staff is here and ready for you.
You knew I asked some kind of question. So as we talked about in our pre-meeting, just want to be clear about the definition of a mobile home. There's been a lot of discussions on tiny homes, and then a definition of a mobile home. So If you could just clarify that definition and if either one is reflected in the ordinance.
So a tiny home typically includes wheels, so that would not be considered, we wouldn't permit that to be a permanent structure if it had wheels on it. Specifically, manufactured homes would have to be built on a permanent foundation. There are standards that are required and regulated through our building code. And then the difference between mobile home and manufactured home actually has to do with the year that they're created or manufactured. So anything prior to 1976 being certified would be a mobile home. And then anything after that 1976 date is a manufactured home. So there's a slight difference, but as far as this ordinance, the way that it would apply to constructing manufactured homes, we would still require all, building permits, CDP if it's in the coastal zone, same standards that would apply to any single family or multifamily, and it would be required to be built on a permanent foundation with no wheels.
And we're doing this because this is state code, and we're just trying to be consistent with state law, and we're adjusting the municipal code to be consistent with the state law.
Correct. And in addition, this was one of the programs laid out in our housing element that we committed to updating our zoning code. So in addition to complying with state law, we're also following a program that was laid out in our housing element.
Thank you.
Okay. Chris?
Just one clarification. So does this also, this uses the term manufactured home. Does it also include mobile homes for those homes that were manufactured earlier in time?
As long as it complies with safe building and safety standards and is built on a permanent foundation, a mobile home, if it was built before 1976, could also be used as a single-family residence or multifamily residence.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any members of the public here to speak on this item?
Not on this item.
Okay. With that, I'll close the public comment portion and open up to commissioner deliberation.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Yeah, I see this pretty straightforward. This is just a clarification of the definitions, and yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Then I'll call the vote. Okay, that passes 5-0 as well. Okay, our next item tonight is item 8B, case number policy 005884-2023. The applicant is the City of Encinitas, and this is a public hearing to consider a recommendation to the City Council regarding approval and adoption of the native plant ordinance. With that, I will recognize Sarah Cardona, our senior planner, for a staff report.
Awesome, thank you. Good evening, Commissioners and Chair Dalton. My name is Sarah Cardona, Senior Planner with the City of Encinitas and Project Manager for this work effort. So let's get started with some introductions. So from the city, we have myself, Sarah Cardona, Patty Anders, Planning Manager, Jordan Villagomez, Senior Deputy Fire Marshal, and Hanson Leclerc, Contract City Arborist. And then from the consultant team, we have Shirley Anekin with SWCA, Jennifer Montgomery with Schmidt Design Group, and Patrick Montgomery with Native West Nursery. So just a little background, in 2022, the City Council formed a native plant ordinance subcommittee, which consisted of Councilmember Hinsey and Lines. And in 2023, Mayor Ehlers replaced Hinsey on that subcommittee. And then in March, May, and August of 2022, this subcommittee, Planning Commission, Environmental Commission, and UFAC held 3 joint meetings to discuss the scope of work for this project. And at these scoping meetings, this is where the group consensus was to exclude single-family residential. And in January of 2023, the City Council initiated this work effort. In March of 2024, the City Council asked staff to refine the scope of work and the budget. In June of 2024, the City Council approved a $150,000 budget for a simplified native plant ordinance and to hire a consultant. In July of '24, staff released a request for proposal. And then in October of 2024, the City Council approved a professional services agreement with SWCA. So since October of last year, staff worked with the consultant team to conduct research and draft materials for community outreach efforts. Staff and the consultants hosted 3 community workshops in 2025. The first one was a focused stakeholder meeting with the Native Plants for Encinitas group. The second was a community-wide workshop where we released a draft outline of the ordinance and brainstormed ideas on incentive programs. And the third community workshop was to review the draft ordinance and discuss potential incentive programs. Then in November, we brought the ordinance to the Environmental Commission and UFAC for a joint public hearing to receive comments on the ordinance. And then the ordinance was made available for public review from October 21st through November 18th, and staff received 3 comments from the public on the ordinance. So there were many key community stakeholders and partners that helped shape the development of this ordinance and incentive programs, not only through participation and feedback that was received at the workshops, but additional meetings and extensive collaboration was held with staff. The collaboration included several city and governmental agencies, environment and community organizations, and local industry partners, including fire, public works, street maintenance, parks and recreation, engineering, the San Diego and Alevinhain water districts, the UFAC and Environmental Commission, the Native Plants for Encinitas group, the San Diego Botanic Garden, Sierra Club members, and local Encinitas nurseries and businesses. We truly appreciate everyone's participation and enthusiasm throughout this community-driven, collaborative work effort. So it's important to note that the goal of this ordinance is to establish clear landscaping requirements for qualifying development projects to increase local pollinator species, promote environmental sustainability and resilience, improve habitat and local native biodiversity, and foster long-term successful native landscapes, and to define what a Southern California native plant is. The proposed definition includes a list of Jepson bioregions, which we will go over on the next slide, and the definition states that native cultivars and naturally occurring hybrids found in these bioregions will also qualify. So here's a map of the Jepson bioregions, also known as ecoregions and referenced as such on the CalScape website. All of the ecoregions that have a dot next to them were considered for this definition, but through community outreach and input, the ecoregions shown in yellow are included in the definition, and the 2 ecoregions shown in red were removed, resulting in a total of 12 qualifying ecoregions that are listed on this slide. So based on community input and technical expertise, CalScape was the data resource most favored and recommended to be referenced in the native plant ordinance. CalScape is a very user-friendly data resource and includes many different filtering options, such as nursery availability, plant type, sun and water needs, special uses, soil drainage, ease of care, and attraction of wildlife. So after hearing that CalScape was the preferred resource, staff and team had meetings with the California Native Plant Society, also known as CNPS, to better understand how existing features worked. As we reviewed the platforms with CNPS, we realized that some of the features were geographically limiting. CNPS was very enthusiastic about the work that we were doing and generously volunteered to make enhancements to their website by adding a new searchable feature, which allows a user to filter by ecoregions, which aligns with the native plant ordinance's definition of Southern California native plant. I'm excited to announce that this improvement to the CNPS website went live last fall and will really help streamline and implement the native plant ordinance. The city is serving as a leader in California in advancing a native plant ordinance, and based off of our research, no other city in California has an approved native plant ordinance, and many cities and counties in California have programs and recommendations to encourage the use of native and drought-tolerant plants. However, no formal native plant ordinance has been adopted. Additionally, I wanted to note that I've been contacted by other cities within San Diego County regarding our ordinance, as other cities, councils, and commissions are interested in the work effort that we are leading in the state. So now that we discussed the definitions of Southern California native plant and the selected data resource, I'd like to go over the ordinance applicability and exemptions. The ordinance will be applicable to projects that are processing the following discretionary permits and also propose a landscaping plan, which includes projects subject to design review and major use permits in the ecological resource, open space, and park zones, and all city projects. In addition, the ordinance includes a list of exemptions, and some exemptions I'd like to highlight include single-family residences, ADUs, JADUs, city-owned athletic fields, and professional growing operations. The ordinance contains general requirements, and two key requirements I'd like to highlight are that all eligible projects will be subject to the 50% native plant requirement, except for new city projects, which will be required to plant 100% Southern California native. In addition, the ordinance has criteria on how to calculate the 50% requirement, and a sample landscaping plan has been provided as attachment 2 to the agenda report and will be included as part of the educational materials available to the public and professionals as a tool to help projects comply with the ordinance. A second key requirement is that landscape areas that are within 50 feet from an environmentally sensitive area are required to plant 100% Southern California native. Based on the community input received and recommendations from our technical experts, the ordinance requires native plants to be installed per industry standards, best practices, and most current technical guidance as determined by the licensed landscape architect. This gives flexibility to the landscape professionals to select the best methods based on the different soil conditions, proposed native species, water needs, planting techniques, etc., to ensure the highest long-term health and ecological sustainability. Staff has also received feedback on the maintenance section of the ordinance. Because the maintenance techniques may vary between native plant species, the ordinance gives flexibility to the licensed landscape architect or other native plant professionals to determine the best maintenance methods based on species, industry standards, and best practices. These installed native landscaping areas are required to be maintained in perpetuity. And the ordinance also requires trimming to be limited to what is necessary for public safety and/or fire management requirements, to remove any obstruction of pedestrian walkways, access passageways, or impediments to vehicular sight distance visibility. The ordinance requires the landscape plan to be prepared and stamped by a licensed landscape architect. In addition, to ensure the installed landscaping complies with the approved landscape plan prior to certificate of occupancy of the building permit or final of a grading permit if a building permit isn't required. The ordinance requires the landscape architect to provide a stamped and signed landscape certificate of completion form to the city within 10 days from the signature date. The ordinance also includes a process for enforcement if an established landscaping is out of compliance. Code enforcement will first issue a warning and offer educational materials and collaboration to bring the landscaping into compliance prior to issuing any penalties or fines. If the property owner does not bring the landscaping into compliance, then a notice of violation, weed abatement, or stop work order may be issued until the landscaping has been restored back to the approved landscaping plans. To resolve a code enforcement violation, the city must receive a signed, stamped landscape certificate of completion form from a licensed landscape architect to certify compliance. Staff has done extensive research on existing incentive programs available within the city and region and has created a resource guide that community members could utilize, which include rebates, contests, pollinator kits, membership discounts, classes, and workshops. In addition, staff conducted extensive outreach, research, and collaboration to determine new incentive programs to encourage non-qualifying projects, including single-family residences, to convert existing landscaping into Southern California native landscapes. This effort included community input from public workshops, meeting with key stakeholders such as water districts, nurseries, the Botanic Garden, to discuss potential partnerships and opportunities for new incentive programs. Based on staff's research and analysis, staff is proposing the following new incentive programs, and these would have to be approved by the City Council. The first one is a coupon program that would offer one free native plant a month to community members at participating nurseries. The second is a rebate program that would reimburse residents up to $200 of qualifying Southern California native plants. The third is to offer one free native plant yard sign for residents who can provide proof of conversion. Staff would like to see if there's an opportunity to have an art contest with the schools to design these signs. And the fourth is for the city to host annual workshops at different locations around the city, such as city parks or our new demonstration garden that is currently underway, existing school gardens, nurseries, botanic gardens, and at city events. So staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2026-02, recommending that the City Council approve and adopt the native plant ordinance. That concludes my presentation. Staff, as well as the consultant team, are available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Are there any questions to clarify issues with the staff? Bob?
No, I think I'll just hold mine for deliberation and
Okay.
maybe listen to the public.
Okay, thank you. Are there any public comments on this?
Yes, we have two speakers this evening. First is Dawn Rideout.
And I'm here speaking in favor of the draft ordinance. It's widely agreed in the scientific community that we are at risk of an extinction crisis unless we do the right things now to prevent it. And this crisis affects not only big species like polar bears, but also the little things that run the world, namely insects and other pollinators. It's also widely agreed that an effective way to respond is by planting native species of plants in our gardens, parks, and street landscaping. For too long, our human-made landscapes have utilized a vast array of plants from around the world, and our choices have been based almost entirely on aesthetics. It's now time for our constructed landscapes to do more than just look pretty. It's time for them to help us retain some vestige of our remaining biodiversity. In addition to keeping the wild places wild, we need to rewild some of our developed spaces on a scale that is possible within Encinitas. We have an opportunity to do that just now by enacting this ordinance. Within California, as staff has mentioned, Encinitas has taken a leadership position on this issue, and that's a wonderful thing. It makes me proud of living here. Most of the credit for that goes to Joy Lines, Kelly Hinsey, and Mayor Ehlers. But I also must mention that staff and the consultant team have done an outstanding job putting it all together, and I thank them for their efforts. The Planning Commission has been applying this 50% native rule to qualifying projects for several years, so this ordinance raises no new issues. It has precedent and a track record. It is workable, fair, and a proven method of supporting pollinators. It will foster a sense of place by making Encinitas look more like the original California. Most of the wildlife habitat of Encinitas has been lost due to the past 100 years of agriculture and suburban development. This ordinance is a step toward mitigating that loss. I urge you to send the native plant ordinance to the City Council with a recommendation of approval. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for being here tonight. Next speaker.
That would be Camille Perkins.
Camille Perkins, Liebenhain. This policy does not work for Liebenhain. A lot of Liebenhain's in the very high fire hazard severity zone, and this policy will literally add fuel to the fire. Please add an exclusion for the very high fire hazard severity zones. My family has firsthand experience. About 25 years ago, there was a fully mitigated development with a landscaping plan next to a home in Liebenhain. The non-native plants approved in the plan aren't there anymore, and what is there today is dense native plants that are obviously dangerous conditions. The fire department acknowledges the risks and says they can't do anything about it. Because they can only ask for abatement up to 100 feet from the home because native plants are involved. They just lost their jurisdiction. Meanwhile, the insurance companies are assessing fire risks not 100 feet, but 2,600 feet away. Local residents can no longer get insurance, and their homes are at risk from fire. Let's look at how this policy actually works in practice and how it will recreate the same conditions. There's a 15-acre parcel for sale today in Liebenhain that can be subdivided, that would be subject to this plan, and that will also affect our house. Applying this draft policy to the 15-acre property means that 100% of the site landscaping plan will be required to be Southern California native plants. It means that existing native plants, which is the risk factor where the fire department loses jurisdiction, they'll have to be preserved on site, even where this is fully environmentally mitigated project with on-site preservation areas. And people are requiring they're up to 70% preservation, so it's not insignificant, plus an endowment. The draft policy makes it clear that once the plantings are installed, and if a fire hazard develops at any point in the future, it's likely impossible to fix because it would require permits issued either by the city or the habitat agencies that could easily cost hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. That won't happen. No policy should ever be adopted if there's a high likelihood it's irrevocable and impossible to unwind ever. We need optionality to course correct, and native plants don't offer that certainty that the issues can be fixed. Instead, on this 15-acre property, there's a very high likelihood that the impact of this policy is to eventually surrender all fire department jurisdiction over the landscaping plan outside of 100 foot from the house. No one could ever touch it, ever, even trimming. Developments should decrease fire risks to existing neighbors, not increase them. The community is being told to abate flammable vegetation, yet the city is acting to expand our fire hazards. There needs to be, again, an exclusion. One size doesn't fit all. An exclusion for the very high fire hazard severity zone. Learn from our real-life experiences. Don't add fuel to the fire. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. No more public speakers. With that, I will close the public comment portion and open it up to commission deliberation. Anybody want to start?
Yeah, I'll start with the heck. I think amazing job. I mean, for the fact that we are leaders in this state to at least take on this challenge, and the fact that it's taken almost 3 years to get to this point through multiple agencies across the state, multiple divisions within the city, including the fire department and Parks and Rec. I think you guys are to be commended for coming up, and not just you guys, but working with the UFAC and working with the Environmental Commission to get to this, to write something this unique is pretty exciting, and I'm excited to be here to talk about it tonight. A couple of questions I had in general on the let me just make sure I get to it, on the exemptions. So there's a list of exemptions in I'm going to the staff report. I think you listed, I forgot which page it was on the staff report. Okay, it's on page 4 and page 5. Can you walk me through why the golf course, which borders canyons and native areas, is exempt? Because that's a large open space. My context being native plants take less water. Water is very expensive. We see the city of San Diego try to raise its water rates almost 100% or a significant amount. So water is a taxpayer cost. And yet the golf course, not debating having a golf course, but why was a golf course exempted knowing that it's surrounded and there's no transition zone, because it goes basically from the canyon to Koa grass, and yet the golf course is exempt. So could you walk me through the golf course exemption?
Sure, yeah. So the golf course and the one here in Encinitas is an existing facility, but the golf course being a recreational facility, we didn't want to have any burdens on any recreational facilities that may have grass or turf for those specific purposes.
But we're not talking about taking the golf course out. We're talking about the areas along the golf course, between the holes, between the fairways. Why would that be exempt, knowing that it's right on the canyons and it's a recreational area, but it's a city-owned area, so the city has control over it. So you're exempting the city from its own ordinance that we're trying to actually get native plants to. We have demonstration gardens, we have all these other places, but one of the largest city holdings is open space is exempt.
So you're talking about potentially landscaping areas that are surrounding outside.
No, that there's canyons.
the-
When you play the golf course, there's canyons on the east side. There's canyons on the west side as you wind through the golf course. It's adjacent to homes. So I'm just saying that's a lot of water savings. I'm not going to dictate the landscaping plan within the golf course itself. There's probably a contract with JC Resorts and all those kinds of things, but it's a city-owned piece of property, and that we're exempting one of the largest city-owned pieces of property from an important ordinance that would save me, the taxpayer, money on the water. So, and probably, I don't know if the trees would catch fire, if they're pepper trees or not, but I just understand why that would be exempted.
Yeah, that's something we can look into further.
Okay, thank you. Also, on the exemption, the comment on city athletic fields, which you just talked about, turf areas, picnic areas, what was the concept within the conversation over the last couple of years of exempting, once again, city-owned community spaces like parks? Clearly, Cottonwood Creek has native plants on it. I'm sure Little Oaks Park in Levenhain has native plants on it. What was the concept behind excluding city-owned property, recreation facilities? I didn't attend all the 3 years worth of different staffing meetings, but what was bubbled up to exempt those?
Sorry, could you repeat your question?
So
again?
why take the golf course out? Why were existing turf areas, picnic areas, informal gathering spaces, which are owned by the city, exempt from a city ordinance?
So city projects would be subject to the ordinance, but then the areas within those city parks that are for the purposes of recreational activities, we're allowing them flexibility, as those aren't landscaped areas. Those are more
I see. So
purposeful
the
recreational
The
areas.
soccer, I'm not expecting to take away the soccer
Yeah.
field on Lake, but I'm expecting that the city would consider native plants at the site.
Correct. The landscaped areas within the city parks
Okay.
would be required to comply with the ordinance.
Got it. Okay, thank you. I'm just making sure I understood that. Let's talk about, it's a little bit further down in the document. We have the list that we've all talked about that's coordinated with the CNSP. But what about banned plants? Are there going to be any plants such as non-native plants like bamboo or pampas grass or Mexican feathergrass or Mexican fan palms that will be on an excluded list that you can't consider those plants as part of the native plant ordinance? All I saw were plants that we could use, but are there going to be a list of specific plants that the city will ban?
Yes, so we do, let me find it. So under, I think it's general requirements, invasive plant species, we do call out that invasive plant species shall not be planted. And then that's where we reference the San Diego County Invasive Weed Watch List and the California Invasive Plant Council Inventory List, also
Okay.
known as CALIPSI. So
Perfect. So
those
we
are
have plants that
prohibited.
we can use, and then we also have a resource for professionals and homeowners that we can't use, those being
Correct.
the invasive plants. Awesome, thank you. That's it for
Okay.
now. I
Thanks.
probably have a couple others.
Brent?
Yeah, certainly. I really thought it was a very well-balanced proposal that I think is widely accepted throughout the community and got quite a bit of support. I certainly understand the concerns of areas in Aleven that have high fire risk. I was specifically addressing the exemptions. I was sort of trying to wrap my head around sort of the single-family home being included in there when a lot of the developments end up being divided up and sold off as single-family homes. And then what happens in the future when that property that was originally under these ordinances and developed that way then is changed after the property changes hands and perhaps gets redone with some permitting and that type of thing. And I certainly think that speaks to the possible concerns people would have in areas like Aleven where they see high fire risk extending in through these areas.
Could you clarify that point for me? Because I had a similar hang-up maybe, but you're concerned about a new project that would be subject to this ordinance that might be subdividing 13, some number of lots.
Right.
Those lots will be sold off to private or single individuals, and now those effectively are single-family homes.
Who are now then exempt from.
Are you concerned that they are now exempt from the ordinance, or that they are obligated to follow the ordinance even though other neighbors who are single-family houses are not following the ordinance?
I think it was, I think it was confusing for me to sort of like process like, okay, so what would happen in a scenario like that? As they get new permitting to do some building and then they don't have to follow the guidelines and then they can change the landscaping, which was originally designed to have the, follow the ordinances. So I think that was I was a little uncertain about how to process that. And I was thinking, well, if it was somehow put in the HOA or the deed restrictions or those types of places, somehow it could further the effort and continue the effort beyond the dividing up of the different properties and the single-family ownership of it.
Mm-hmm. Just to linger on that one, I guess I was a little worried the opposite, that does this ordinance create kind of two classes of citizens that are both single-family homeowners? Some that are existing homeowners are not subject to this.
Mm-hmm.
I love that there's encouragement for them to participate in it, but they could get to do that voluntarily. and they can go remodel their house, their landscaping at any time, any way they choose. If we fast forward to these houses that might be approved under this ordinance, but in 20 or 30 or 40 years, they are just another single-family home, and they choose that they would like to put a pool in and redo their landscaping, but they are going to be subject to this, perpetual maintenance requirement for a landscape plan, that they would have to go back to the city to modify a landscape plan where nobody else prior to this ordinance would do that. I'm worried about the kind of two different types of single-family home 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have a concern around that?
I didn't see that, but does staff have a comment on that? Or are we not asking? So we're just deliberating amongst
No, I
ourselves?
think we should ask staff
Sure.
about that.
So maybe you could clarify if a housing project is approved, under this ordinance, they will have a landscape plan assigned, as part of that development. That may not have a homeless
I have something
assistance.
that kind of folds into that, that I'd
Okay.
like to ask also.
Sure.
Don't we currently already have a 50% native plant ordinance and for residential? So
Yes.
doesn't that mean that already, we're doing this? It's already something that we do in our code?
Yes, if we're processing a design review permit, they're subject to the objective design standards, which does require the 50% native.
Yeah.
So I think it's fair. And it's been ongoing for quite a while. I think, how long has that been code? I think maybe 5 years already or something like that. I'm not sure.
Just to clarify a point, right now, exemption number 1 says construction or reconstruction of a single-family residence is exempt from this ordinance. But you're saying they are still subject to a prior ordinance that requires 50% native?
Sorry, could you repeat your question?
Commissioner Sherrod just pointed out that we have a requirement for 50% native landscaping. But this ordinance, which is the native plant ordinance, exempts single-family homes. So if a single-family home were to be constructed today, could they use exemption number 1 to say that they're not subject to the native plant ordinance? And if they're not subject to the native plant ordinance, are they still subject to a prior ordinance that would require 50% native?
Well, that would be depending on if a design review permit was required or not. So under design review, the custom home exemption allows the exemption of one single-family residence, so they could process permits without design review. But then if they're processing a design review permit, then they would be subject to the 50% as per current standards and this ordinance. So it implements into our existing process.
Okay, but it still does create a situation where someone could go build a custom home today and use the exemption and build the landscape whatever they want. But a homeowner who buys a single-family house that is developed under this ordinance, and in 20 years or 30 years, they decide that they want to change their landscaping, they will need to go get an approved landscape plan. I mean, they're obligated to maintain the native landscaping for 50 or for forever, unless they come back to the city and get a new landscape plan that will also be 50% native.
Correct.
Okay.
You walk me through the transition zone, that area between an open space and setbacks. There's projects in Levenheim that are proposed in the reserve or the preserve area. How does this work between existing open space areas and proposed developments in terms of setbacks? Or is there a setback issue associated with it, basically a transition zone because they put a fence up and then there's open space on the other side or a preserve on the other side. How does that work?
So it would be any proposed landscaping area within that 50 feet
Right.
from that area. If you're proposing a landscaped area, then it shall be planted 100% native.
Okay. So that allows a transition zone between something that's on the other side, which is 100% wild, to a new development, new construction of a single-family home. There's going to be a little transition area, so it won't be a cold wall. There might be a wall, but on the other side of the fence will be native plants that will transition. So what we've seen is like the stark, from an aerial standpoint, there's a house, and then there's the open space, and there's ice plant or something on the other side of the fence.
Not necessarily a transition, but as we don't want to preclude development, it's just if they're proposing a landscaped area, then it would have to plant 100% native.
Okay.
Could we have someone address the fire risk of native plants? Are native plants as a broad category any more fire
I'd like to say something about that. The plants are allowed to be trimmed, and so I really don't see that issue. First of all, the single-family residence is exempt. So, a lot of our properties are single-family residents, actually, in the city. I'm not sure, I asked at one point in the meeting what percent of land is single-family residence, and it was a very high percent.
Right.
I remember that,
Right.
being something like 70% or some really high percent. And so, if you think about that, and the fact that they're allowed to trim, if it is native plants, they're allowed to trim them, I think it's really incumbent on a property owner, if you want to buy in a fire high hazard area, go ahead, but know the risk and know that you're going to need to do maintenance, you're going to need to trim. And if you don't want to do it, then you're increasing your risk. So I think we can't, for example, my home, let's say, which is not in a high fire hazard area, but if I go and plant things all around that create fire hazards, that's my fault that I did that. I chose it. So you do have a lot of free choice, but sometimes there are consequences for your decisions, and we cannot, as a city, take liability for people who make poor choices.
Okay. I understand your comments, and I can kind of agree with a lot of that. I guess my question was more specifically to address one of the comments from the public that we are creating high fire hazard zones. And my question is, as a group of plants, are native plants inherently more fire prone than any other group of plants?
I wouldn't necessarily say they're more fire prone, but it is, most of the ones in this area are considered coastal chaparral. But there are plants that are undesirable plants that if the projects are within the very high fire hazard severity zone, they still have to meet our defensible space requirements, like Commissioner Sherrod said, on trimming, spacing, maintenance, basically. But there are certain ones that we don't encourage in those areas, and these projects would still be required to meet all the fire requirements, no matter what. So.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to
What if I could
I'd like
finish?
to let you know that I'm a member of the California Native Plant Society, and a lot of the information that they have put out, and they studied the big fire in LA that happened recently, the native plants are lower fire risk.
Okay.
And the reason why is that they intrinsically have adapted, to this climate being a hot, semi-arid sort of area. So they're actually a lower risk, but you do need to take care of your
Okay.
property.
Yeah, thank you. One other clarification I'd like is native plants. We focus a lot on protecting open space and habitat, But as a group of plants, they're not, just because it's a native plant, they're not necessarily a protected species. I'd like, I guess, acknowledgement that, there are certain native plants that you would have trouble removing because of its protected status, but there are other native plants that would be like any other plant in your yard that you could remove if you felt so inclined.
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I had one. On your incentives, I know the Solana Beach Resource Center allows, buys 100 rain barrels, and we can go get them from the Solana Beach Resource Center cheaper. Did you guys consider possibly bulk buying on behalf from a grower, that the city could bulk buy and say, this month we're going to bulk buy, put your pre-order in, we're going to buy 100 coastal chaparrals or, coastal oaks. And if anybody wants one, they're going to be in 1-gallon pots. Sign up, and we'll be able to buy 50 and get a group discount. So just a thought that in working with your growers, maybe the city could use its power of purchase rather than a one-off purchase as a potential incentive.
Right, and the city has done that before where they have
Have they?
the giveaways at various parks. I know there was one in Lucadia, maybe last year, where there was a tree giveaway.
Oh, okay.
So I know that there is precedence for the city doing that.
Oh, great. So just something to consider. It doesn't have to be in the resolution, but, something that the city could adopt along the way. And if they've done it before, that's great.
Just to clarify, the incentive program that you outlined is kind of an informational item to us. It's not part of the native plant ordinance that we're reviewing tonight. So whatever recommendation we make tonight to the council is specifically on the ordinance, not on the incentive program. Is that
Correct.
Thank you.
I
You are
want to
happy.
just add that I am strongly in support of this ordinance, and I think that staff has done a fantastic job, and it's really been a long time, and it's been very well vetted and thought through. A lot of work went into it, and I really appreciate staff for all of your hard work on it. Thank you.
And I just wanted to say that I also do appreciate the hard work, and I wanted to congratulate you too, because there were a couple of things I really liked about what you did here. One of them was the clarity of your report and the readability of it. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a report that really anybody could pick up and read and understand. So I really appreciated that. And I really appreciated your efforts, your community outreach and your efforts to work with people that are, organizations that are partners, and getting them on board ahead of time before this is brought to us and before it's brought to city council. And the fact that an organization was able to make changes to their website in order to support our program, I think is fabulous. So I really wanted to just congratulate you and staff and everybody that worked on this. And I'm really happy to see this here tonight. So thank you.
Okay, and I would echo those sentiments as well. I really did think the staff report had a lot of clarity to it, and it really outlined a process to such an extent that I can see that there's been a whole lot of work done by very intelligent people on this subject matter. And I don't see anything that I want to step into and try to reinvent or course correct at this stage. My only hang-ups, I think, on this project are about the perpetual nature of the maintenance. Not getting as much of a sense that there's much support for that on the commission. I would entertain a motion if anybody wants to move to a motion.
I'd make a motion that we approve the
Second.
resolution.
Okay. Susan seconds. And I'll call the vote. Somehow, oh, there it is. Okay, that passes 5-0.
Well done. Thank you, everybody. Good stuff.
Okay, the next item on our agenda tonight is future agenda items added by planning commissioners. Are there any future agenda items to be added? Seeing none?
No, there's nothing, but I am still the subcommittee of one on the, I acknowledged my lack of productivity on the Dark Skies initiative, but it's still on my brain, and I still
You're
have
going to
it.
start docking your pay.
Would you start docking the, yes, but I have not forgotten my obligations.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, next item on our agenda is Planning Commission reports, in which we have several tonight. I'd like to recognize Bob first, and then I have a report that I would like to give, and then I'll recognize the rest of the commission.
Thank you. Last Wednesday night, I was reappointed for a second three-year term on, to the Planning Commission by the City Council. In the dialogue with Councilmember O'Hara, he strongly encouraged the Planning Commission to redouble its efforts to represent the city and its constituents, and also to put a little extra effort into our review of projects before they get to the City Council. He was quite clear in his concern that we work real hard. And I, not from the podium, but from my chair, I acknowledged his concern and let him know that I'd bring that message back to the to the Planning Commission per his request.
Okay, thank you for that report. I'd like to acknowledge two commissioners who will be leaving us after tonight. Susan Sherrod has been a planning commissioner for 6 years. As a fellow architect, I've shared a certain common language with you and have appreciated your approach to the issues that we've faced. I want to recognize your passion for all sorts of items, but particularly sustainability, native plants, bikes, affordable housing, and recognize the work that you've done as a commissioner with the subcommittee to produce an affordable housing report. And so thank you very much for your work here. Commissioner Ryan, you have been vice chair and a very steady leader in my absence and in my presence, often nudging me when I forget a procedure, and I appreciate that. Your legal mind has been very nice as a resource on the commission. You've helped us cut through some of the buzz and the turmoil and the confusion that projects often bring with them. And you've done that in a very fair and balanced approach, I think. Your commitment to the next generation of Encinitas is commendable, with your focus on housing issues, infrastructure issues, and a whole litany of other items. Both of you should be very proud of the work you've done here on the commission. We haven't always agreed on items, but I think we have all worked in a very civil manner, and I'm proud that we have often found consensus among ourselves as a way to move forward. Thank you for your invaluable service to the city. You should be rightly proud of the work you've done here, and we will miss you, and wish you luck in the next endeavors that you choose to pursue. And we hope it will involve some volunteer work with the city. We'd be better for it. I think there are flowers here. I get the honor of handing them out.
Oh, no, I should have thought of that. You can imagine it's native in your heart.
Don't plant it in your yard. Just keep it in your house.
They're native somewhere. All right, Bob, I'll recognize you next.
Thanks. Thank you, Steve, our commissioner, our chair. Look, Chris, you're thoughtful, you're insightful, you presented amazing leadership when we needed it. You brought us together in a balance that we never reached conflict. And I know that sometimes a bunch of volunteers getting together from different backgrounds cannot agree, but your calm ability to bring us together, focus our attentions on the matters at hand, and provide that clarity was amazing. And I want to thank you. Become a friend, and your passion for the city, trying to do the right thing. We're all up here trying to do the right thing. It was never questioned, so I appreciate you. Susie, again, your passion. Thank you for working with me on the affordable housing report. It saw the light of day in this room, and for that, I appreciate you for all the time and effort you put in. But like Chris, you brought a passion and energy and a perspective to all matters. And for that, I appreciate you and what you've done for the city. Again, you were able to find a common ground. And when we didn't find a common ground, you found a way to speak and eloquently and from the heart. And I appreciate you, and thank you for serving on behalf of the city.
Well, I would like to give a final report.
Okay.
So this is my last meeting.
Let Brent go first.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Bob, appreciate you offering to do another term. Yeah, and way to hang in there in that very long meeting. And it's very impressive, and I'm definitely looking forward to continuing to work with you.
And Brett sat with me the whole time, so
Oh, wow.
I was able to lean on him more than once. Thank you.
Yeah. And Susan, it's been wonderful to work with you. I certainly am so impressed by all of your contributions, and it's very impressive. And I can tell you that many things that you've contributed have moved me very much, and I will continue to utilize those things in the future as resources. You may not necessarily be here, but you will be in my mind, because I will be hearing your voice, reminding me of the things that are important to not just you, but to many people that live here. And yeah, Commissioner Ryan, it's been wonderful to see you again and work with you again, and I will certainly miss you here. It's been wonderful from you and from everyone here. The stewardship, as I was the newest commissioner of this group, and bringing me along and allowing that process to take place with all of us. It's been very wonderful, and certainly I'll look forward to seeing you again in the future things that you do. Yeah.
Thanks, Brent. Susan.
Okay, well, I just want to express my gratitude for being able to serve for 6 years, and to both mayors, the mayor who originally appointed me, Catherine Blakespeare, and Bruce Ehlers, of course, served on Planning Commission. I know him a little better in some ways for that, and I appreciate both of them, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be with all of the commissioners here, because each of you brings different perspective, and learned a lot about how you think in terms of your backgrounds, how those affect your decision making. While on this commission, I collected many articles about affordable housing, and I did put some of that to use in the work that Commissioner Prendergast and I did. That affordable housing Facebook page is still up, and you can refer to it at any time. Anyone in the public can look at it. It's a public page. And I may add a little more refinement to it if I have time. But basically, I want to encourage people who live in our city to volunteer for commissions, because it's your city, and it's important that you be part of it and participate fully. I know a lot of people have things they say, and they come and they give public comments, and I know not everybody can give the time of being a commissioner, but it really helps our city to be its best if you can do it. And so, in closing, I think that we do see a lot of people coming into our meetings at times, and I appreciate every single perspective that they bring. And I just want to say again, thank you for this opportunity to serve and to be part of our strong and vibrant community.
Thank you, Susan. Chris?
Yes, thank you. So I'll start on the line, and then I'll have some closing statements. First of all, I want to thank staff, too. It's been so great to work with all of you. Some of you newer to us, but it's been so fun getting to know you guys and feeling your support in the meetings, being able to turn to all of you when we have questions. That's just been so helpful, because sometimes we get a little bit stuck. We get stuck in the weeds. We don't know the answers. So to have the ability to turn to my left and ask questions and get really insightful answers and really helpful answers, I really appreciate. So thank you. And thank you, Dina, for running a great meeting. We all know that you're the one in charge here. Okay, then I'll start with Brett. So it's just been so fun to, I gotta move the plaque. It's to see you again. So I don't know if everybody else knows, but we knew each other over 25 years ago, before we were both married, before we had kids. And so, you know, we were friends, and it's just been such a great opportunity to get to know you a little bit again and to see you, and you're still in the community, and I think it's been fabulous. And I want to say, too, just seeing in the last year that you've been on the commission, just watching you kind of get your feet under you a little bit. I don't know, people that have never sat here don't know how hard it is when you sit here for the first meeting or two and you have kind of really no idea what's going on. You may have come to a meeting or watched a meeting, but to sit up here and listen to members of the public and then have to deliberate and come to try to a consensus, it's hard. And the information is so dense and on so many different topics. We could be doing a liquor license, and then we're doing a housing element project, and then we're doing something else, and it's just like one thing to the other. And there are people that have a lot of background in history who know a lot of things that have happened in the past, but if you don't have that luxury to have one of those brains that can maintain everything, kind of like Bruce, the mayor, he kind of has one of those brains and the history with the city. But for the rest of us, we come here, we're like, holy crap. Like, there's so much stuff. And just watching you over the last year and kind of like getting into your space here has been really great. And I'm really looking forward to everything that you're going to contribute to, you continue to contribute to this commission. I think it's going to be fabulous. So that's been great. And then Bob, you were so much fun at a meeting. And always, outside of a meeting too. You're just super fun. I know, whenever we get to the point where does anybody have any questions? We all look to Bob, because we all know Bob's got questions, and he's always like, should I go first? Go for it, Bob. So it's just been so great getting to know you and becoming friends with you and seeing everything that you contribute every time, and the hard work that I know you put in. People put in work. I think sometimes Bob goes the extra mile and really gets into the nitty-gritty with going through the pages, going through with the kind of brain he has, and getting into some of the really deep weeds and finding those things and then pointing it out to all of us. So I really appreciate that. It's been fabulous. And Susan, I really appreciate your passion. You have so much passion for the things that are important to you, which is the environment and affordable housing is kind of like the main two that I see. And so I really appreciated sitting next to you and just being able to feel the passion coming off of you of the things that are important to you. So thank you for that. Okay, I'm gonna cry. Steve, what a great leader you've been. So thank you for sitting here, being on my left, and running a great meeting, and you're so smart, and I appreciate how you take us through the meetings, how you run the meetings, and everything that you've contributed to the city, and everything I've learned from all of you. So that's one of the main things I want to say is I have learned so much from each of you, and I've been so grateful, as I sit here at every meeting, to have you up here with me and to feel like I can lean on you and you support me. And I want to say something briefly about that, because I don't think there's ever been a time where I have left a meeting and I have thought, wow, we didn't work hard. I think that this commission at every single meeting has worked hard and has worked as hard as we could every single meeting. And so I know that those of you that are staying and those that are coming in are going to continue the same thing that we have done and our predecessors that have been on the commission with me, who aren't here now, have done, which is to work hard. And why do we work hard? That's because we all believe in public service. And what we're doing here is public service. We're working for our community. We do get paid $50 a meeting, but basically that's volunteering. We're in a volunteer capacity here, and we're doing it because we care about the city of Encinitas. We care about our individual communities, but we care about Encinitas. And if we didn't care about Encinitas, if we didn't care about our neighbors, we wouldn't be here putting in this work. And that's what all of you have done. I know you can continue to do it. And I want to say it's been such a great experience for me. Those of you who know me from outside of this know that basically my whole career is public service. I believe that the greatest thing you can do is serve your community as a public servant. And I have dedicated my entire professional career to serving the public and protecting my community. And I believe that planning commissioners, what we do is protect our community. And I have full confidence in all of you that you're going to continue to do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris and Susan and everybody for their comments. We're going to move on to the next item, which is secretary reports.
I wish you had moved my item before you guys all spoke, because I'm not going to sound quite as articulate or as emotional and caring as any of you, but nonetheless, I still want to sincerely thank both Vice Chair Ryan as well as Commissioner Sherrod for your service on the Planning Commission. You will both be genuinely missed. Even though I just started here relatively recently, I could immediately tell your commitment and your passion for the community. And it's just very reflective in how all of you spoke. Serving this role really requires an incredible amount of time preparation as well as thoughtful deliberation, often on very complex and impactful issues that shape our community. And genuinely, both of you have approached that responsibility with great professionalism, care, and a very strong commitment to the public process and to the community as a whole. So I just wanted to take a moment that on behalf of all of the city staff and on the city to thank you both for your great leadership, your wonderful perspective, as well as your dedication to serving the community of Encinitas. Your contribution have been incredibly meaningful, and they are truly appreciated. So thank you both very, very much. And Bob, looking forward to continuing, Commissioner Prendergast, looking forward to continuing to work with you.
Okay.
Thanks, Megan.
Thank you, Megan. With that, we are going to adjourn this meeting. We're going to adjourn it till the next regular Planning Commission meeting on March 5th. Thank you. Good night.